Thank you, Madam Assistant Speaker. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and work, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nations. I also wish to acknowledge the Dharawal people, the country on which my electorate of Heathcote sits. As the traditional custodians and occupants, they have a spiritual, social, cultural and economic relationship with the lands and waters. I thank them for their stewardship over the past 65,000 plus years and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I also extend an acknowledgement to any Indigenous brothers and sisters here. I am a strong advocate for social justice and First Nations justice. I am proud to be part of a progressive New South Wales Labor government that will work on a treaty in New South Wales. We have committed to starting treaty discussions with Indigenous communities. I look forward to the national referendum to give our First Nations people a voice and the recognition they deserve. The seat of Heathcote is a very special and unique part of New South Wales. The electorate takes in the Royal National Park, the second oldest national park in the world, as well as the iconic Seacliff Bridge and the Woronora Bridge. Both bridges were proudly built by Labor state governments. The Royal National Park is characterised by coastal cliffs, secluded beaches, eucalyptus-rich bushland, ancient Aboriginal sites and native wildlife. New South Wales Labor governments since 1947 have gazetted 150 national parks, and in the last Labor government we protected 123. Given the significance of the Royal National Park to my electorate, which covers from the Sutherland Shire in the north to the Illawarra in the south, this is a track record that I am incredibly proud of. We are not averse to bushfires in the Heathcote electorate, and we know how important it is to address climate change in order to avoid a repeat of the 2019-2020 catastrophic fires. I love the beach, the surf, the smells of the salty air, our coastal waterways and our bushlands. They are my happy places. I am so grateful to have lived here for most of my life. The Heathcote electorate is extremely diverse. It consists of traditional mining towns to some of the most creative and artistic communities throughout New South Wales. 4 generations of my family reside there. This community really does mean the world to me. It has been an aspiration of mine for a very long time to be here on the floor of this chamber in Australia's oldest parliament. It is an honour and privilege to serve the people of Heathcote and New South Wales in this House over the next 4 years. Rest assured, I do not and will not take this responsibility and opportunity lightly. I am the youngest of 7 children and have 6 older brothers. I was born in Corindai as our dad worked on the railways and was stationed at Werris Creek. I was so lucky to be born into a loving family with so many protectors. You can only imagine how nervous my husband Russell was when I first brought him home. When I was 4, we made the move back to Engadine. I was raised in a 3-bedroom house not very far away from where I live now. Dad was a train driver and a locomotive inspector. He taught many train drivers, including my good friend and secretary of the RTBU, Alex Classens, who's here with us today. Dad was very well respected in the railways and went on to become the employees representative on the State Rail Authority Board. Dad's role as employees representative was to assist his fellow employees right across New South Wales. Dad received many phone calls on the landline in those days. They would ask Dad for his help or advice on an industrial or workplace matter. Remember, these are shift workers who used to call Dad night or day, 7 days a week. I heard his empathy for his colleagues, some who were particularly vulnerable. Dad advocated for and supported them until he eventually retired from the railways after more than 45 years of service. My mum was a secretary to the Director of Music at the ABC. At the time, the Commonwealth Public Service Act of 1922 was still in force, and female Commonwealth Public Service employees were required to resign when they married. Therefore, Mum resigned from that position after marrying Dad. Thankfully, pressure from the public, the opposition, and members of the government led to the removal of the marriage bar back in 1966, on the grounds that it wasted female talent in the community, that women rather than the state were best placed to manage the demands of work and home. Thank you to those suffragettes and activists for their passion for women to have this right to choose. The New South Wales Labor government would look very different if that draconian act was still in force. To our parents, faith, family and friends were so important. They were selfless, kind and loving people, and they made so many sacrifices for us. Being the only daughter, my dad and I were very close. In later life, Dad had a desire to go into politics, into the Senate, in fact. However, as Mum's health began to deteriorate, Dad decided not to pursue the Senate. Dad and I were always talking about politics. When we were young, we were always encouraged to play sport, especially team sports. We had a big backyard and played tennis on a cement slab with 2 outdoor benches as a pretend net. We also played cricket, touch footy, had chickens, and a whole Royal National Park to explore for tadpoles and blackberries. Life was good. Mum and Dad provided all they could for us. Poor Mum did not enjoy cooking or making 7 lots of school lunches. And she absolutely detested Vegemite. Mum also did the housework. Can you imagine the washing and ironing for 9 people? She ironed hankies and pillow slips, tea towels, everything. She was a devoted wife and mother and was so loving. Mum did not enjoy good health in her later life, but she always remained so selfless. Upon visiting her, she would always ask after everyone else. She'd never complain. She was strong and resilient. In 2016, Mum passed away, surrounded by her family. The palliative care team from the local area health service and the aged care nurses and staff were incredible. Mum had dignity and respect right till the end. In 2020, 4 years later, our father passed away. The difference in care was stark over those 4 years. The nurses at Sutherland Public Hospital Intensive Care Unit were incredible to Dad and to us every time Dad was admitted. And the last time, when we were told there was nothing more they could do, Dad wanted to go home. Dad was in the same nursing home as Mum, but this time there was no palliative care team flying squad. His experience was very different and extremely painful. Thank goodness Dad had us close by to advocate for him. Our family, had always been close, and my brothers and I, along with our families, were there for Dad. It was a privilege to be there for Dad. However, it was obvious how health and aged care over those 4 years had deteriorated. We had aged care workers in tears and apologising. Those same workers had looked after Mum, and they knew the care at every level was not as good for Dad as it was for Mum. During the recent campaign, I spoke to a woman who had a similar story. Her mum was at the end of her life. I said to her, I totally understand, and if elected, will treat your mum like my mum. I often wonder about those who have no family or friends to advocate for them. What must their last few days look like? My hands were tied then, but they aren't anymore. As a civil society, I will advocate for palliative care teams to be resourced and supported to provide dignity and respect to all at end of life. Thanks. I thank all New South Wales nurses for their commitment to their profession and the need for safe staffing levels for all hospital workers. Thanks, Janelle. I acknowledge the wonderful New South Wales Nurses and Midwives Association and Shay Candish, the General Secretary, is here with us today. I have stood with them for well over 10 years in advocating for more nurses. Thank you. A big box. She knows me well. I wish to pay particular attention to Judy in the Sutherland Hospital ICU and Colette in the emergency department, who's here with us today. I know how hard they had to fight for PPE and for face shields during the COVID outbreak. There have been many times over the last few years when it was too much for Colette, continually having annual leave denied, and the sheer exhaustion of backing up every day to face the masses with COVID and knowing they were short-staffed yet again. They faced excessive workloads daily, fatigue, and high staff turnover. I am so proud to be part of a New South Wales Labor government that will prioritise the welfare of frontline workers like nurses, teachers, and our wonderful paramedics. It's not just about wages for our state's frontline workers. It's about respect for their profession and conditions of employment. Thank you for hanging in there, Colette. We have your back, and I'll continue to be a strong advocate. I attended local schools and sat my HSC at St Patrick's College at Sutherland. Russell and I have been so fortunate to have many lifelong friends, many of them here today. For years, they have put up with me and my political discussions. We have laughed and cried over many things in our lives. I can't thank them enough for always being there for me and my family. My first full-time job was in the Labor Council, now Unions New South Wales, working in the Occupational Health and Safety Training Unit. I realised then and there that this was my calling. I could not help workers with my feet under the desk. So I began my community activism in the Australian trade union movement. It was at a time when the Occupational Health and Safety Act 1983 was passed, and we were training construction workers and union members building Darling Harbour. That's how long ago it was. There was a video that was shown in the training course called Alice's Fight for Life. It was about a woman who acquired asbestosis from washing her husband's overalls after work. Alice died a slow and painful death from mesothelioma. It was incomprehensible to me that someone could not return home to their loved ones after a workplace accident or could acquire a terminal disease just by doing their job. My dad used to talk to me about the union struggles and strikes to achieve decent conditions. Dad's father, Pa, was an engineer in the tin mines in Emmerdville. He was a proud member of his union. I have his union badge with me today. I've been a lifelong union member since I was 14 and 9 months in my first job, Woolworths at Engadine. We must never forget the struggles of those who came before us, and I stand on the shoulders of great people, unionists who have battled for the right to have safe workplaces and to be paid fairly, for conditions such as occupational superannuation, which is now often taken for granted. I have worked for many unions over the years, including the ASU, PSA, ACTU and the Rail, Tram and Bus Union. The Rail, Tram and Bus Union continued my love for trains that was instilled in me from my father. I look forward to working with our wonderful Transport Minister Joe Halen to provide a great network, a network that is world-class and one we can actually be proud of. TAFE is another great passion of mine. I studied industrial relations at Guymer TAFE and began organising workers. I'm a very proud beneficiary of TAFE. However, in those days, TAFE was a vibrant hub for learning, not the ghost towns they've become today. Make no mistake, TAFE changes lives and sometimes saves lives. At a time when we have significant skills shortages, we really need our TAFE more than ever. A stronger advocate for TAFE you won't find. I will work hard to ensure we can save and rebuild our TAFE in New South Wales with our committed Minister, Tim Crackenthorpe. Education provides knowledge, and knowledge gives you power, like good quality healthcare. Regardless of your postcode or your parents' bank account, quality education should be offered to all to provide a lifetime of opportunity. I pay my thanks and respect to all teachers and support staff. Though you deserve more than just thanks, you deserve fairer pay and better conditions, something Premier Chris Minns and this New South Wales Labor government is committed to delivering. I thank the Deputy Premier and Minister for Education, Prue Carr, for working with the department and the unions. It would also be remiss of me not to thank these frontline workers for putting their lives and the lives of their families at risk every day during the pandemic and beyond, especially friends and family in the teaching profession and education sector. Leonie, Diane, Bernadette, Kim, Julie, Joanne, Leanne, and my nephew Matthew, to name a few. I believe if you have the capability and the drive, you should help those that are unable to help themselves. I'm a fighter, always have been, always will be. I will champion tooth and nail for our fireys, our New South Wales Police, public transport workers, and all our wonderful New South Wales public sector workers. I stood with the local community to save the education precinct at Loftus from demolition, a TAFE college and a University of Wollongong campus with a special needs school for local students. I will fight for the environment and nature to address the climate and biodiversity crises. Over the years, I have campaigned and won to save the Royal National Park from having a freeway, the F6, tear through it. This was a ludicrous idea from the former government. It wouldn't have been a freeway anyway, given it was to have a $10 toll each way for a car and $30 each way for a truck. I helped save a wildlife corridor, which was a known koala habitat in Warrenora Heights, from being cleared and developed. Recently in the Heathcote National Park, volunteers Tom Christensen, who's here with us today in the gallery, and Steve Enyon Smith found a disease-free colony of 80 koalas. I can report today that the colony is prospering and we now have over 160 koalas. One of those koalas is named Maryanne and one is named Minns after our Premier. To my lean colleagues, the New South Wales Labor Environment Action Network, you have taught me so much and we have undertaken great initiatives in this state. With our new New South Wales Labor Environment Minister, Penny Sharp, we will create so many more. I am super excited. I might need a bit of extra time.
The member seeks an extension of time. Is that granted?
Yes.
Granted.
Thank you. I will continue my work for those with a disability in our community, to have the right to dignity and respect and the right to quality of life. My good friend Kim Flowers was to be here, but she's unfortunately been hospitalised. Kim became a victim of the privatisation of group homes in New South Wales. She was homeless and stranded in Sutherland Hospital for over 7 months, whilst trying to find a medical model home that could accommodate Kim's complex health needs. Her struggles with fairness under the NDIS continue today. Her mum, Penny, is here and she is incredible. Every day she works to give her daughter the voice that she deserves. Kim, I hope you're watching from hospital. I will not give up until you have the quality of life you deserve. And Penny, I will not give up until you have the peace of mind you deserve. I have had a strong commitment and length of service in both the industrial and political wings of the Labor Party, joining the ALP when I was 21. It was because of our Labor values of dignity, respect, equality, fairness and opportunity that I was drawn to standing up and speaking out, particularly for those who are most vulnerable. For me, it's been a long journey to arrive here. 3 campaigns and 12 years or more, all up, at times with many obstacles and roadblocks, but I conquered. Yeah. as Michelle Obama says, when they go low, you go high. I've gone high. Here I am, and I have the wisdom, life experience and resilience to be a great member for Heathcote. But no one ever does it by themselves. I pay tribute to and thank the following for their unwavering support. Unions New South Wales for their Essential Workers Deserves Better campaign. Electrical Trades Union New South Wales Teachers Federation, Fire Brigade Employees Union. Maritime Union of Australia, New South Wales Nurses and Midwives Association, the Rail, Tram and Bus Union and the CEPU. To all the many local branch members, friends and family who have stood with me for many, many years, I will never, ever forget. I wish to point out two very special friends. Sharon Usher, a TAFE teacher from Grafton, couldn't be here because she's actually teaching at TAFE this evening, and Graham Otley, who should be here in the gallery. Graham is a New South Wales Fire and Rescue Officer and was our comic relief on pre-poll. Both Sharon and Graham never left my side during early voting. I especially wish to mention a local ALP branch member, Peter Eichen. Peter stood beside me on train stations and street stalls for years. He was there rain, hail and shine. Last year he became a life member of the Australian Labor Party and I was honoured to witness that. Unfortunately, Peter passed away the Saturday before the state election. The last, my beautiful, supportive, caring and loving husband, Russell. None of this is ever easy on our partners. He is my rock, my best friend, and I'm so lucky our paths crossed. He's very smart, very kind, and most of all makes me laugh. After 30 years of marriage, I still love waking up to you next to you, sweetheart. We have been blessed with two happy and healthy children. I have had many personal challenges keeping pregnant, 2 miscarriages and 1 stillborn. I share this very personal and painful story to let other women know who I am and that I understand. Russell and I cherish our 2 cherubs, Sarah, our creative, talented and very bright young woman, and Max, who's currently studying in the UK, making new friends and new memories. Thank you, children, you are my inspiration. Dad and I are super proud of you and love you to the moon and back. It's never easy on your family, and goodness knows my family have had to make many sacrifices over many, many years to help me get here. Thank you for believing in me, for your determination and strength too. My gratitude extends to the Honourable Bob Carr, unable to be here today, always a great advisor, supporter and bushwalking buddy. To our New South Wales Young Labor crew, the Flying Squad, the mighty Illawarra and Southern Sydney Young Labor Associations, an enormous thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your many door knocks and phone banks. You are all amazing and very special to me. Thank you to Ryan Park, Minister for Health, Regional Health and the Illawarra and Member for Kira for all your support and counsel over many years, mate, and to your beautiful staff. I'm so proud of you in the health portfolio, such a strong advocate for quality health care. Thank you also to my other Illawarra friends and MPs, particularly the Member for Wollongong and Minister for Planning and Public Spaces, Paul Scully, and the Federal Member for Cunningham, Alison Burns. You have long been by my side, door knocking and providing advice. To the women and supporters from Emily's List, thank you. Notably, I am the first woman elected to represent Heathcote in the New South Wales Parliament. To all the wonderful women mentors I have had and continue to have in my life, you provide me with great comfort. I wish to thank the New South Wales Labor team, Bob Namver, Dom Offner, my campaign organiser, Alex Costello, Max Kennedy, and many more who have supported me for years. I have always appreciated your friendship and experience. I wish to thank the Clerk of the House and all in the parliamentary services for your helpful inductions. It's been a relatively smooth transition. Thank you. Finally, David McKinley and Mark Buttigieg, brothers in arms, I would not be here without either of you. Your tenacity and advocacy have not faltered for me. You are a great door-knocking buddy, Mark, and Dave, you're a great advisor. Together you can be a bit of hard work, but I truly thank you and your beautiful wives for your belief in me. Since being elected, I've hit the ground running. As Russell says, I'm just like Winnie the Pooh who's fallen into a big honeypot, and I feel so comfortable in this role. I've already started visits to schools, daycare centres, hospitals, police stations and businesses. I've met a koala named Teddy who was rescued after being orphaned. Teddy was eventually released back into the wild where he belongs. Recently I was present with Minister Sharp in the Royal National Park to see female platypuses released back into the park after a 50-year absence. Witnessing that was one of my greatest joys. I look forward to watching them prosper like the koala colony in the Heathcote National Park. When I met with the Sutherland Shire Police Area Commander recently, I asked him, what are the 3 biggest local issues? He advised me that they were domestic violence, youth support, and mental health. It is the hidden discrimination and violence against women in the home and in the workplace that I am most passionate about. I am just one voice, but now we have 50% women in our New South Wales Parliament, women in their rightful place. I commit to working with the Sutherland Commander, our local New South Wales Police Service, youth services and our health professionals to help keep all safe and healthy in our community. Thank you to Premier Chris Minns and Deputy Premier Prue Carr for your brave and progressive agendas. I look forward to delivering on the improvements to Heathcote Road, better public transport services and connectivity, additional hours in the urgent care centre at Bulli Hospital, building a school hall at Sutherland Primary School, addressing homelessness, the housing and rental reforms which are so desperately needed for our young people and so much more. I thank the people of Heathcote for your trust and confidence in me. You witnessed my determination, my hard work, and my love for our community with advocacy and leadership. As a result, you rewarded me by electing me your member for Heathcote. I've just loved your many congratulatory messages. You deserve it. It's about time. You've worked so hard. No, I will not let you down, all over 57,500 of you. My hard work for you has just begun, and I will enjoy my time getting to know each and every one of you. I am super excited to be working with my colleagues in the Minns New South Wales Government to deliver positive outcomes for the people of Heathcote and New South Wales. Apart from the beach and the bush, I've arrived. I found my happy place. Thank you.